It looks great. I think it starts with recruiting last year, bringing in 20 girls for this new season. It really adds a new depth to the room. Having girls of all different calibers, having someone that's Dalia, who's a folkstyle runner-up, 4-time state placer in California, state champ, having Alma Mendoza return after winning a silver medal at Junior Pan Am. It just really adds a lot of depth to our room, a lot of competition. It gives us, a new look, a new energy. When you have 8 people in the room, trying to keeping that energy high throughout the season is a little tough. But now that we have almost 30 girls in the room, the energy's always high. Like, we just finished practice, and we had a great practice. We're really looking forward to getting after and kind of putting it back to Wayland Baptist. They came here last year and beat us at home, so now we're kind of looking to do the same to them, go back to their place and beat them at home.
And then Alma, competing at the Junior Pan Am Games, how's that helped you prepare for your sophomore season this year?
I think that being able to train at the OTC and go to Guatemala and train internationally was a really great experience. I've learned a lot. It definitely puts a lot of pressure on me for this year, I feel like, but as long as I'm putting in the work and just being thankful to be a healthy athlete, I should be able to get where I want to.
And then Dalia, having all the experience in California, placing the California State Tournament, how has that prepared you for your freshman season coming in this year?
I think, it prepared me well. My coaches back home, it's different from high school wrestling to college wrestling, obviously. We haven't had our first tournament yet, but I think my coaches back home, Travis, everyone here, and my teammates have been helping me, get to where I am, and I feel like it's, I could be good.
And then how has that transition gone from wrestling folk style for all last year, now wrestling freestyle? How's that transition gone?
Be quite honest, I didn't like folk style so much, but freestyle was always my game. But folk style, hated top, hated bottom. Freestyle has always been my style. I'd rather be neutral on my feet, take my opponent down, get my leg loose and go from there. So I'm happy that it's freestyle now.
No more hairnets.
Yeah.
Questions?
Yeah, what's it like to have so many wrestlers on one team and having them all be so diverse in different styles? I mean, is that making you a better wrestler?
Definitely, I'd say last year we only had about 9 girls on the team, and so it was definitely hard to keep a good attitude when we were always wrestling the same people. So it's definitely really nice to have a lot of other girls supporting each other, hyping each other up, being able to have different practice partners. And I think with what we were able to do last year with only 9 girls, now that we have almost 30, I think we're going to be just so much better.
How exciting is it to see the program and be a part of a program that is on the rise?
It's really amazing. When I first signed here, that was one of the reasons I signed, is because I wanted to be a part of the first women's wrestling team at CMU. Women's wrestling in general is already growing, and we've made so many stepping stones in history, so I'm excited to be a part of that.
Well, back home I had an all-guys team, so it's different for me. Now I have all girls in the room. It's very different, environment, but they're like my sisters for life now, everything's different, they're better training partners. I'm not saying the guys back home weren't good, but, it's a different style from wrestling guys to girls, so I'm very appreciative of the girls on the team now.
Was that almost kind of tough to only wrestle against guys?
Yeah, it was tough. I feel like that's what made me tough back home is, the guys are always pushing me, so much stronger than me. And now, the girls here, I'm like, they're equal strength now. It's like I'm not handling man strength, and I'm now have, girl power like Alma, we're at the same level.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Travis, can you tell me just a little bit about the off season here? You just got done with the first full season of the program and recruiting, and how did that kind of help lay the foundation to bring in as many girls as you did and get this program kind of kick-started, so to speak?
Recruiting was my number one priority going into this year. That was something that I really went after. Having someone who was one of the top 10 girls in the nation, Dalia here. She was one of the first girls I contacted, and I wanted to make sure that she saw and came to campus and saw what we had to offer, not necessarily just athletically, but as an academic institution, as a student body person too. You want to have students that want to be here. So a lot of times we ask those types of questions. Can you see yourself coming to school here for 4 or 5 years if wrestling or athletics was taken out of the picture? And I think the big key to success was getting people to campus, and this campus sells itself. And I think that being a new program, it's always kind of like you see other schools like, oh, this is a top team in the nation. But again, you have someone like Dalia, you have someone like Cindy Zepeda, Genesis Martinez, Alexis Clark, all high state placers in their respective states, and to have them come in, and it shows that the commitment to success that we have in our program, and they want to be part of that success. So that was number one priority for me, was recruiting and getting the top girls in the nation. We had the number 7 recruiting team in the nation this year. I think that speaks a lot of the hard work that was put into it. It wasn't easy for sure. It was a year-long process, but now into year 2, we can kind of focus on the weight classes that maybe we're a little bit weaker at, or we don't have as much depth. So last year was a lot of get the good girls that I can at the weights that I need, and also, kind of fill out our lineup.
Yeah, and now you go from, barely having a team and first tournaments and working through all that to actually having a full team now. Is there more of a focus on, okay, now we have the numbers, now let's perform and really push ourselves to be at the top competitively?
I think that was always the focus. Even last year, it was, the big philosophy for me and the coaching style is we strive for excellence in everything that we do. So it's not so much that we're going to be more competitive this year. We are, I think, in the sense that we have more numbers and we can kind of focus on some different techniques and things and little details, where last year it was a lot of wrestling basics and keeping things, if you will, dumbing down a little bit. And not that they weren't at that level, but to stay smart, stay in position, stay basic. Now we can really kind of build on position skill bases and really get after competing. And I'm excited to get competing on November 9th. Is not too far away, but it's still like in my mind, I'm like, man, I'm far away, but I'm excited to get down to Plainview, Texas, and kind of, like I said earlier, I really want to kind of dish it back to them this year.
And then Alma, does it feel like this? You're part of this program. Are you seeing it kind of grow and materialize? And does that give you extra motivation, energy, excitement, especially coming off of your Pan Am performance and then now joining a team like this?
Yeah, it definitely makes me excited. Even from the girls last year, I've seen a lot of people improve. For example, Amber Strong, she hadn't wrestled for very long and she All-American. So I think it just goes to show from the beginning of the year. Last year, we improved so much, and this year we're just going to get better and better, even if it's just the little details. Like Travis said, the basics are really important. So, yeah.
Then last thing, talk about the transition from to the NCAA Invitational Tournament deal. We've talked about it before, but expand on it for the people that don't know.
So women's wrestling in the collegiate level started about 2004-ish, so it's been around for quite some time now. Previously it was just the WCWA, which was the Women's Collegiate Wrestling Association, and that's what all of the women's colleges, or the colleges with women's wrestling, wrestled under. So NAI schools, JUCOs, NCAA Division II, Division III. That's what we all were, an umbrella organization essentially. Very similar to acrobatics and tumbling, that's a great example, or beach volleyball when it went through its transition. So we're in that transition now of becoming an emerging sport, and during the summer the Women's Sports Committee with the NCAA recommended for emerging sport status, and now it's on the table to be voted on in January at the National Convention. So that's where we're kind of lobbying all the NCAA schools. It's not just the schools that have women's wrestling, it's every single NCAA school, D1, D2, D3, that are going to vote on this. We're really trying to sell and promote why women's wrestling is a great outlet for student athletes on any campus, whether that school decides to add women's wrestling or not in the future. So going forward, what we've done is there's a working group currently of athletic directors. Our co-athletic director Brian Rooks is on that working group. They're working diligently with Wrestle Like a Girl, another working group of collegiate coaches, and they're kind of helping with USA Wrestling, the NWCA. They're putting together if you will, I can't call it an NCAA invitational, so I hope I don't get
NCAA schools.
Yeah, NCAA schools invite national tournament. I can't say NCAA, they'll probably get mad at me, but it's a national tournament that it's called the Women's National Collegiate Championship, so the WNCC, a bunch of alphabet soup for everybody at home. It is going to be geared directly for the NCAA schools. It's something that we've been trying to work towards the other NCAA schools for the past few years, and kind of trying to separate ourselves from the NAIA schools and create our own championship specifically for the NCAA schools. So that's going to be in March 6th, 7th this year, so the week before the men's D2 tournament in Adrian, Michigan. Not my ideal location in early March, freezing cold. I'd rather be somewhere a little sunny, but that's where we're going. You know, I think the emerging sport status is going to happen. The vote sounds really likely. The working group's done a lot. Wrestle Like a Girl, Sally Roberts has been doing a lot. They're working very diligently. It seems like sometimes it's behind closed doors, but they just try to make sure that they have everything set in stone before they start throwing out things, so they don't want misinformation being set out. So, and I think it's going to be a snowball effect. Once this emerging sports status is granted in January, I see other MC2A schools, D3 schools, smaller Division I schools adding women's wrestling at a rapid rate. Once we get to that 40, we have our national championship, and it'll be, again, I've similar to beach volleyball, where everybody's under one umbrella in the sense of Division I, Division II are competing against each other. I feel like that's what it's going to be like the first 5-6 years, and then once we get 40 in D2, NCAA D2 schools, we'll have our own championship. So that's kind of the route that we're going, and that's why we're not going to compete in the WCWA National Championship this year. We feel it's the best idea to separate ourselves from the NAIA schools and go directly and support the group that's supporting us and getting that emerging sports status.